thought, this guy is so calm, cool, and collected. He has it together.
He was really good looking. He seems awful nice, very charming.
Once you see the smile, you never forget the smile.
This is just a fantasy. What if?
My feelings started to get a little bit stronger.
And even though she wasn't looking for someone, she found one.
But what happens when it turns out to be the wrong one?
I love you is becoming more of a weapon rather than a show of affection.
I asked Tracy, you don't see a problem with this?
I didn't think that was healthy at all.
You might as well forget it. You're done.
I dated a nice guy.
Dated a romantic,
Heartthrob.
hottie,
Doctor.
bad boy,
Charming.
cheater,
Control freak.
jerk.
I dated a psycho. Norfolk, Virginia is a charming seaside town, the historical and cultural hub of Virginia's coastline. Natalie Purdie has big ambitions beyond this small-town spotlight. While still in high school, she decides to raise the bar on her professional dreams.
I studied dance at Norfolk State. My ultimate goal was to dance with a professional dance troupe. And so I was trying to study with Alvin Ailey dance troupe. And I was trying to decide if I was going to go to New York by the fall or if I would wait and go in January.
She has dreams for life off stage as well.
I want to be married, I want to have kids, I want to have white picket fence.
She has a smile that once you see the smile, you never forget the smile. You know, everybody looks up to Natalie. And I just want her to be happy. She deserves it. She does.
In 1986, the high school senior is living with her grandparents and eager to start her future. She's ready to leave Norfolk behind, including her boyfriend, Danny.
We had the same group of friends. So even sometimes when we weren't on an actual date, we were still together. And it got to be that we were together all the time. And I noticed that it was just getting to be too serious. And I knew that it was a possibility I may be moving away. We were together every day, all the time. I didn't have an opportunity, being so young, to be able to actually date other people or go out. I thought that we needed to take a break. And he wasn't happy about it. He wanted to know why? Why won't you still just go out with me?
Then one day, after Natalie's dance performance at a summer festival, another admirer cuts in. He's 24-year-old Kevin Bullock, a landscaper who's lived his whole life in the area.
The first thing I noticed was his pretty eyes. He was a couple of years older than me, 7 years older than me. And I thought he was really attractive. He was very clean cut and preppy. And I thought that was it was different and it was nice. Kevin ended up calling and asked, did I want to go out? And I would tell him that he would have to ask my grandparents. And he didn't have a problem with that. And we started going out and dating. So every time we went out, he paid for everything. He opened my doors all the time. There was never a time that he wasn't Johnny on the spot to open and close my car door. He would hold my hand, and at that time we would make out, but it wasn't to the point that he would be groping me. He understood if I said no meant no, and I like that.
It's a different world than Danny, who's sort of still kind of bumbling his way through high school. Kevin seems more mature, more established. That's a bit of a wake-up call to Natalie, who is so ambitious and probably sees in Kevin what a future might look like for her.
One time, we were out on a date, and the date ventured out to the mall. And Kevin saw these pair of suede mustard shoes. And then he said, oh yeah, those shoes would look nice on you.
She likes them, but doesn't want to spend the money. But Kevin, who comes from a wealthy family, does.
More points for Kevin to just pop up with this gift. It wasn't my birthday, it wasn't Christmas. He just bought it just because. He thought it was nice and wanted me to have it. So I thought that was really romantic and caring of him.
She is sort of already mentally leaving high school anyhow, and Kevin shows her what it feels like to be treated like a lady. And I think that that's more of what Natalie envisions for herself in her future. So Kevin becomes sort of a very seductive sort of person to her.
Even though I knew in my mind I didn't want this relationship to be real serious, it just happened to be going in that direction. And he made it very easy for me to go in that direction.
Problem is, she's just as serious about studying dance in New York.
Right now, at 18, I need to be primarily focused on my future, education, you know, my career, as far as dancing and what I wanted to do.
2 months into the relationship, Kevin has a proposal.
In the midst of all of this, he told me that he loved me. If we were to get married, you could continue to pursue dance and go to college, and I would still continue to work. My parents are building a bigger house, so starting off, we could live on one section of the house, and my family will help with your education. And I'm thinking, this guy got it going on. He's saying that as a whole family unit, they're gonna help me. I'm thinking, this is exciting. This is just a fantasy. What could be?
It's an incredible offer from an incredible guy. But her family doesn't think a whirlwind wedding is the best idea.
That's something that we had nowhere in our minds to do at that age. Our family was finish college, you know, let's get through that first.
As if Natalie doesn't have enough on her mind, ex-boyfriend Danny is still hanging around.
I was a little nervous because he was constantly calling, constantly coming around, making up excuses of ways to get to see me. He wasn't taking the breakup. He wasn't accepting it. He was 6'4", maybe about 200 pounds. I was afraid that he may attack me. He wouldn't take no for an answer.
Danny is increasingly sort of seeming like the creepy stalker ex-boyfriend. Natalie, in some ways, has reason to be pretty fearful of Danny because he feels like a powder keg that's about to blow.
One night as she prepares for a date with Kevin, Danny stops by.
He's at the door, ding dong. So I go, and I don't invite him in. I'm at the door, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to go on a date. So just as he was about to leave, Kevin pulls up. I definitely, at this point, don't want a conflict at my grandparents' house. So we proceed to leave, and as we proceed to leave, my ex stands in the way, kind of just blocking that we have to go around him. And Kevin opens my car door, closes the car door, and he purposely walks around the back of the vehicle because my ex is kind of like right there towards the front of the vehicle. So that there's no confrontation, he makes sure he walks around. I was more of the one ready to explain. Oh, he just doesn't want to let go. I don't know why he's here. But Kevin just was like, okay, no problem. Like, there's no need for discussion. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm not bothered by it. We're good, and let's proceed. on our date.
As Natalie takes Kevin's hand, she thinks, wow, this is what a mature guy is all about. He doesn't take the bait for a silly fight. Danny looks like a fool, and Kevin really looks like what she's looking for in a guy.
And I took that as a sign of, oh, he's really mature. He's not getting upset. He's not angry.
Danny was showing a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, while Kevin rather calmly faced down the situation.
Natalie thinks it's over, but her troubles are just beginning. In 1986, Natalie Purdie prepares for a future as a professional dancer in New York City. She ends an unhealthy, suffocating relationship with her high school boyfriend in Virginia. Then, unexpectedly finds romance with a new man, Kevin Bullock.
Kevin made me feel really special. He told me that he loved me.
Kevin wants Natalie to stay in Norfolk as his wife. His family will help her with tuition and a house to live in. But she worries.
Not even a year ago, I was just ending one relationship saying that I want to have time for myself. This is moving just a little too fast, and I'm too young. And so that made me realize, like, you know, even with all of the help, with the education, with the car, even if it was a nice house, even if it was my own house, I knew deep down that wouldn't be enough to have a long, you know, to marry someone and be with forever.
Natalie has finally woken up and smelled the coffee. She might have made herself a bit more beholden to Kevin than she'd like, and she realized that this may lead her to holding back on her dreams.
I definitely didn't have the intentions of breaking up at this point. I'm thinking, let's just slow things down.
As Natalie takes a step back, Kevin grows more and more possessive.
He was very persistent. I remember talking to her on the phone, and she was saying she just didn't feel like going out. That should be enough if it's somebody that cares for you. But he wasn't that kind of person. He would just keep trying, keep pushing, and that bothered her.
He still wants her to live with him.
He mentioned, hey, soon you're gonna have to get ready to start packing so that you can move in. That was the red light. Because really, when we discussed it, I'm thinking, a year or two. I didn't feel like he meant right now.
Slowly, Kevin has changed.
Kevin wanted to know where she was. He always wanted to be with her. He gave her no breathing space. And I didn't think that was healthy at all.
Natalie agrees. 3 months into their relationship, on September 7th, 1986, Kevin visits her at her grandparents' house. She uses the opportunity to have the talk.
I said, you know, I just think that it's moving too fast. Kevin's initial response was, but why, Natalie, I love you. It wasn't that I didn't care about him or didn't love him. This is not so much as about us as far as a relationship. I was really focused on dance, school, and if anyone really wanted a future with me and you say you love me, these would be things that you could understand. His basic response to almost everything that I said, but why, Natalie, I love you.
I love you can sometimes be the most abusive words in the English language. Every time Natalie very clearly communicated, and in a very, I think, mature way, that at this time of life, I want to work on my dancing, I want to work on my career. Kevin kept coming back at her, I love you, I love you. And what he was doing was that he was using that almost like prison. You can't want those things, I love you. If you want those things, then you don't love me. And so in his hands, I love you was becoming more of a weapon rather than a show of affection.
And so I'm thinking, okay, you know, it's time to end this. I say to him, you know, Kevin, Just so you think that I'm not using you, maybe I need to give you the gifts back.
Kevin is the kind of guy where control is the only rule of engagement for him. If you're my girlfriend, I own you. And he did it with Natalie when he tried to buy her off, and the first time you try to leave, you then start to realize that those shoes were a hell of a lot more expensive than you originally thought.
So I stand up to walk him to the door, and as I look back, his eyes, those pretty eyes, are glass. There's like a disconnect. And I see his arm in the air. I realize that his arm is coming down with the scissors that I was using to cut out my graduation pictures. I see the scissors coming down. The only way to get him to stop is to give him what he wants. I'm screaming, "I'll marry you, I'll marry you."
Her grandmother hears her screams and calls 911 as Kevin flees. The next thing Natalie remembers is waking up in the hospital. She's been stabbed more than 30 times. Her right arm is temporarily paralyzed. Her skull is fractured, and she's temporarily blind.
Words can't even express the shock, because I knew that he had stabbed me. I didn't know he'd stabbed me in my face.
The worst news? Permanent nerve damage.
I would never be able to dance again. My dream has been crushed.
That really destroyed her, because that's something she's always done and always wanted to do. And here it was, this was taken away from her.
In taking those scissors, stabbing her face, stabbing her body, in essence, he's saying, if you think you're gonna go take this dream instead of me, I'm gonna take away your dream.
I'm not even angry yet. I'm sad. I'm sad that you would do this to me. I can't even fathom that we went from you want to marry me to now you want to kill me.
While she's helpless in the hospital, Kevin is still on the loose.
I'm thinking, if he comes right now, will the nurses hear me? I can't walk. I can't really move in the bed if he comes in here and tries to attack me. Where am I going? I'm really stuck.
When Natalie Purdie tries to end her relationship with Kevin Bullock, he stabs her more than 30 times, shredding her lifelong dream of becoming a professional dancer. But even as she lies in her hospital bed, Kevin refuses to let go and calls her room.
He says, "I'm sorry, I love you. I still want to marry you. And, you know, when do you think you're getting out of there?"
When you get into a relationship with a sociopath, the one thing you gotta remember is that there's no getting out.
Thankfully, the night passes without any sign of him, and he turns himself in soon after. Adding shocking insult to terrible injury, Kevin isn't charged with attempted murder.
Kevin's charge was dropped down to a lesser charge of unlawful assault. I felt ashamed that I was still alive. Because if I had died, he would have gotten time.
Kevin receives 5 years probation, released back out on the streets of Norfolk. After a month, Natalie gets out of the hospital.
My family basically took care of me, learning how to write again, learning how to walk again.
Moving on isn't easy when you're always looking over your shoulder.
I definitely feared that he may come after me. You never really know what they're capable of. That thought in the back of your mind. So that's always a constant fear.
Natalie has entered a whole new hell. Not only has she lost her future, but the very man who stole all of this away from her is lurking in the shadows.
She was in a lot of pain. She was just crying continuously. She was afraid. She was scared, you know?
I moved to New York, and I came back to Virginia years later, and I had probably been in the area for, I guess, about 8 years. Had never run into Kevin.
Natalie starts to relax. Then, 13 years after the attack,
Now, I was walking in the store, and I felt someone walking closely behind me. And something told me, don't turn around. But the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. And then I started hearing the person making a noise. It was making a clucking sound, like, almost like mocking my shoes, the way I was walking. And I stopped. I turned to look at something on the shelf. And then out the corner of my eye, I looked, and I saw him.
she locks herself in her car and calls her sister.
And she goes, it's him, Desi, it's him. And I'm like, Natalie, just calm down. She would not calm down. I couldn't get her to calm down for anything. And she's just crying and bawling, and she goes, it's Kevin. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, Natalie, just get out of there.
After the incident, Natalie avoids being alone and keeps all her personal information unlisted. For 12 more years, she successfully avoids Kevin until 2011, when a detective comes to call.
She was working on a case investigating Kevin Bullock. Just the name of it, then just hearing the name sent chills through my body. She stated that the reason I'm here is that he's done it again.
A girlfriend of Kevin's had broken off their relationship.
And he was trying to get back with this woman. He approached her. She got in her car to try and drive off. He followed her car, and he grabbed her and bit off a chunk of her face, the size of like $50. He spat it on the ground, and then he jumped in his car and drove off. I froze, and then a burst of tears. I was speechless. She said, the reason that I'm here, and I stopped her and I interrupted and said, whatever it is, I'll do it.
Natalie agrees to testify against the man who dashed her dreams.
When the district attorney was calling for the surprise witness and said, Natalie Purdie, Kevin goes. I mean, it was like a machine being oiled. It was like his body was waking up. And his eyes got big.
This was the first time that I felt safe, that I could actually look at him. And now we're at a point where I can tell what you did. It was my own way of facing him.
Natalie Purdie is shocked to learn the ex-boyfriend who nearly killed her more than 25 years earlier has attacked another woman. She agrees to testify at Kevin Bullock's sentencing hearing on September 10th, 2012.
I think she wanted to cast him out. It was like an exorcism. It was like destroying the demon once and for all.
Natalie's powerful testimony compels the judge to give Kevin 35 years in prison, nearly twice the recommended sentence.
I definitely felt vindicated when the sentence was handed down. It also made me feel safe. So I felt like this is my justice. And not just for me, but for other people, other women that could be a victim because of Kevin.
Though Kevin ruined Natalie's dream of dancing professionally, she finds the strength to live and dance on her own terms. In Ephrata, Pennsylvania, 33-year-old certified nursing assistant Tracy Ella is determined to move ahead as well. One Saturday in the summer of 2010, she spends a long day moving into her new apartment after splitting with her husband.
I had decided I was going out. I never changed from moving, in my sweatshirt and my sweatpants, dirty sneakers.
She had no expectations, and that's when all of our walls are down. And as a result, things can often happen on those nights that ordinarily wouldn't because we're not on the prowl.
At the bar, she spots a handsome stranger.
He was standing there kind of observing the place, observing everybody without saying a word. Well, I thought he was good looking. The bar stool next to me was empty, and I finally turned around and said to him, "Could you please sit down? You're making me nervous."
Lonnie Deppen is a veteran Marine who's new in town. He's a single dad with 2 kids.
We started talking about, my work. We started talking about that I moved and why. He was the one flirting, to be honest. He ended up, as the night went on, this was maybe over an hour, 2 hours at the most, he started rubbing my back and started giggling and laughing. He seems awful nice, awful nice, very, very put together, very charming.
I don't think Tracy's intention was ever to go to the bar and pick up that man. What I think it was is at that point, she just left her husband, she was down and out.
Here's Tracy going through the rejection and the pain and really the agony of a divorce, and it's very recent for her. And then in comes Lonnie, sweeping in really like a heroic soldier to fix that broken heart.
It's an attention thing.
That's really intoxicating stuff.
When last call comes, neither's ready to call it a night.
So Lonnie followed me up to the house. I turned the TV on, I want to say an hour or so. I went to my bed, changed, and went to bed. And he came along, and he laid on the other side, and we just laid talking. And that's when we started to be intimate.
There was something about that situation, something about that man, something about Lonnie. It turned out making them unusually open to each other. And I think that that's probably why her walls came down. And even though she wasn't looking for someone, she found one.
Never thought it would be a one-night stand. Never thought that. I was getting my clothes ready for that morning to get a shower and stuff, and he said, "I have to get going. I'm gonna go home for a while, but I'll text you later." And I knew that I would hear from him again.
And as the days go by, he visits her again and again and again.
We talked about our exes a little bit. Lonnie was telling me about this ex-fiance of his.
He had moved to town to be with her, but she dumped him just days before their wedding.
I was more or less, at that point, trying to help Lonnie get through the situation, try to get Lonnie to understand that you can't make somebody love you, and that maybe it is time to move on.
And he starts crying on Tracy's shoulder, which is super attractive to her, because she's like, this big, strong guy trusts me enough to let me take care of him. That must have been a really potent role for her.
I liked him, absolutely. My feelings started to get a little bit stronger.
For the next 2 weeks, Lonnie wants to be around his new love 24/7. When he's not at her apartment, he stays close. Tracy thinks it's cute, but her twin sister Stacy finds it creepy.
Lonnie would call her in the middle of the night on her cell phone, saying, all your lights are off, are you sleeping? That's what was scary to me, because we had no idea who he even was.
Tracy wants her twin to meet Lonnie. So she arranges a get-together.
As soon as I get there, he leaves. And she kept saying, no, well, maybe he just got nervous, maybe he had stuff to do. I was, at that point, getting even more scared.
She said, get him out of your house, Tracy. Seriously, get him out of your house. I didn't listen to her.
Two weeks after a painful split with her husband, Tracy Ella is happily cuddled up with her new guy, Lonnie Deppen. They talk about their past, but Lonnie is evasive about the present. He won't tell her where he lives, and then refuses to meet her twin sister, Stacy.
I asked Tracy, you don't see a problem with this? And I kept telling her there was something wrong with this man. But she assured me he was nice and everything was fine. Now I'm not supposed to worry about it. Tracy actually said to me, I really like him. I really like him. I'd like to stay with him, just see what happens.
Tracy's sure he's just a good guy going through some bad times. Until 2 weeks into their new romance.
He was actually crying when he walked in the house. And I said to him, what's the matter? And Lonnie said, well, we better go have sex before I go to jail. I said, why would you go to jail? He said, my ex-fiance got a protection from abuse order on me. Protection from abuse orders means that you cannot go within so many feet of her, like the gym, her house, where she works. If you do violate the protection from abuse order, you go right to jail. I said to Lonnie, why would you have a protection from abuse order on you if you didn't do anything? I don't know why. She says I'm harassing her and I'm stalking her. She's playing, games. I had no reason not to believe him.
Lonnie paints the picture in his breakup that he's the victim. There's always two sides to the story. Well, she's only hearing one, and she's buying it. And as a result, she's crawling deeper and deeper into an emotional world with Lonnie, where I think she's really feeling sort of emotionally responsible for him and wanting to help him through this particular crisis.
She was actually getting closer and closer to him. She was telling me, I really like him. He's very nice, and I said, okay, but I was kind of seeing through what she was not. And all this stuff is adding up, and I keep telling Tracy that there's something wrong here. There's got to be something wrong here.
A few nights later on Halloween, Lonnie comes over again and comes clean to a dirty secret. He has been stalking his ex.
He said, but the only thing I did that maybe will get me in big trouble and put me in jail is I put a GPS tracking device on her car. Well, I'm just trying to see if she has another boyfriend. Oh my God. Because at this point, I don't even know which way to turn.
He tells her what happened.
He showed up at the rec center while his ex-fiancée was at the yoga class. And he showed up in the doorway, and his ex-fiancée noticed him, and Lonnie said, tick, tick, boom.
It's interesting that Lonnie uses the threat, tick, tick, boom, because in his own fashion, Lonnie is a ticking time bomb. He is making no secret of the fact that he wants to take her out, harm her, or at least scare the hell out of her.
Lonnie's ex called the cops, who found the GPS device on her car. Now he really is facing jail time, and he wants Tracy's help.
He's wailing. He's really crying at this point. I need to either do this myself, or I need to find somebody that will do it for me. I knew he really meant I was to find out if I could find somebody that would be a hitman.
She goes from thinking she has a guy who's an upstanding guy, trusting, loving, and in one moment turns into something really dangerous and really scary.
I was scared. There's not one part of me that believes he's joking. So I need to act on this, and I need to do it now. I told him, well, I'll see what I can do, just so I could get him to leave at that point. I just needed him to leave because I already heard too much.
She heads straight for her twin sister's house.
I said, Stacy, he wants her dead, and he's not joking. She's going to die at his hands or at the hands of somebody else.
Deathly afraid for her, deathly afraid for her. Because I knew if anything leaked out and something would have happened to not just Tracy, the ex-fiance, both of them.
I was thinking he had another GPS tracking device hooked to my car to make sure that I didn't go to the police.
Hoping he's not watching, they take Stacy's car to file a report.
When we were at the state police, we specifically said, please, please do not say anything until only to the officers that need to be, the detectives that need to be said something to. If this man finds out that we came here, it's not gonna be good. The state police did tell Tracy that we will do an investigation on this, so she knew she had to be patient.
Next 2 days, I didn't hear anything. So of course I have to talk to Lonnie now in hope to God that he does not know I went to the police. I have to be as normal as possible.
Those have to have been blood-chilling 48 hours for her. Because if she does anything to change her behavior significantly, the whole jig is up. She still has to pretend she's in love with him, still have sex with him.
Tracy Ella meets Lonnie Deppen in a small-town Pennsylvania bar. It's all romance for 2 blissful weeks, until he asks her for an unbelievable favor. He wants her to find a hitman to kill his ex-fiancée.
Lonnie's that sort of master sociopath. Charismatic, smart, handsome, clever. He's a master manipulator. He goes for the woman he knows will probably listen to his sob story, seduced her, and then nailed her with this request to find a hitman.
Instead, Tracy secretly files a police report, but has to worry through 2 tense days before detectives get a chance to follow up on it. When they finally do, her word alone is not enough to arrest Lonnie.
We had to hear it from Lonnie, and the only way to hear it from Lonnie was to get Tracy to make telephone contact with him and begin a conversation and see if Lonnie was willing to talk about it.
You want him arrested, you want him to go to jail. I had to take the shot. I had to go for it.
2 days later, Tracy's in an unmarked police car, ready to nail Lonnie on tape.
I was so afraid he was going to catch on to what we were trying to do.
Tracy was very upset and emotional during this phone conversation.
I was nervous. Lonnie, I said, I found somebody for you. And he immediately knew what I was talking about. I did say to myself, I can't believe this is happening. Lonnie's gonna agree to $1,200 to kill somebody. Okay, now this even makes it even more real. He's serious, he's serious.
On November 2nd, 2010, Tracy is taken into protective custody. Stacy comes with her. They aren't alone. Lonnie's ex-fiancé is right there with them.
Tracy's basically taking a bullet here to help out a woman she's never even met. There's also the possibility that some of this was a little bit of revenge. It's like, how dare you put me in this position, and I'm gonna stick it right back to you.
At 9 p.m., everyone is in place. At the station, the 3 women listen in.
We have a visual on a suspect.
As soon as we heard, suspect is walking in to the parking lot on foot, Tracy started bawling, started crying.
I was real close to passing out, real close. My heart sank because I had myself geared up thinking that he wasn't gonna show up, and he did.
Lonnie gives the undercover detective a picture of the ex-fiancé, the address of his ex-fiancé. Lonnie tells him that he doesn't want it done in front of her child. He tells him that the best time to murder her is when she takes the dog out in the morning, because the child will still be inside sleeping. The undercover detective asks him how he wants it done, and Lonnie simply replies, "Don't be cruel."
After the cash changes hands, he's surrounded by police.
Lonnie put his hands in the air, quickly said, "I knew it." At which point, all officers converged. He was taken to the ground and placed in handcuffs.
He actually met the hitman. He actually paid him real money. He was gonna do it. He was gonna do it one way or another.
I mean, you're paying $100 bills to an undercover detective and you're being recorded. You might as well forget it. You're done.
Lonnie Deppen pleads guilty to solicitation to commit first-degree murder and felony stalking. At his sentencing hearing, Tracy can finally confront him face to face.
And I said, "Did you really think for 1 second that you would get away with this? Did you really think that I was that stupid?" I said, "You got out of my bed in the morning to go stalk her? Is that how you treat women?"
Why would a guy ask her to make that kind of connection for him? And I think what he probably believed was that Tracy would end up taking the bullet for him, make it about her jealousy about my ex-fiance. He would have walked off into the sunset and let her rot in jail.
The sentence imposed was 6 years and 6 months to a maximum of 20 years.
Tracy now realizes that she may have dodged a bullet herself.
Lonnie's a psycho. I just don't understand what makes him tick. I still don't understand it. You have so much going for you. You threw it away like your entire life just doesn't matter.